Good evening, it's Freedom Talk Radio. This is Andy, Freedom Talk Radio Online.com. We're coming live from ftjmedia.com. If you want to be a guest, email Freedom Talk Radio 2013 at gmail.com. And if you want to support the channel with a small coffee, it's ftjmedia.com/Freedom Talk Radio. Join the website for free, so you can comment, donate, do whatever you want. And also for $5 a month, you can have your own radio show, and it goes live to YouTube, your website, everywhere you want it. So it's a good platform to have. Right, we had Tim on last night, but tonight we've got an old buddy from at least 10 years nearly. It's Alan Dransfield, and he's Mr. Vexatious. He's a King of England, and he was given that title, and he'll explain why in a few minutes. But first, we're going to do a test with this show promo. Obviously, if it doesn't work, won't play it again. 1 minute.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Yeah, warm welcome. It's Andy. Yeah, we've got Alan Dransfield today, and Alan's a tireless freedom of information, health and safety campaigner based in Exeter. His blog is ollie'semporium.co.uk. That's blog.ollie'semporium.co.uk. The blog is aimed at shaming those who ignore health and safety and those who abuse the Freedom of Information Act out of laziness, corruption, or to cover up incompetence. By the way, the Muppets are not us. We try and provide a balanced sort of information for you. The Muppets are actually the people in power, and Alan will explain, how he put a freedom of information request to the FOI people one day, and yeah, he was called Mr. Vexatious. Well, that's a joke, but yeah. You do the opening part for us, Alan, the story of how you became labelled, really.
Hi, Andy. Good evening, and thank you, Andy, for the invitation, and for the purpose of the listeners and the viewers. Andy and I have done a few shows in the past, probably 3-4 years ago. We were quite regularly on the same thing, and I'm so pleased, Andy, you've just made the difference between the Muppet shows. It's not us; it's the people we're dealing with, and without a doubt, the Information Commissioner's Office. Well, they're worse than Muppets, because at least the Muppets are funny. The Information Commissioner's Office is run by a bunch of cheating, lying, thieving scoundrels. I have to say that, because they're complicit with rogue public authorities up and down the country, rogue and bent judges at the first tier tribunal and the upper tribunal. And I'm the living proof, and the documentation is clear to see. Anybody wants the copies of this the information that I've been trying to get for some time. It's absolutely incredible. I'll go back. It's we're now 2025. My first initial Freedom of Information request went into Devon County Council in 2009. And the reason that I placed this request to Devon County Council is that I was working for one of the leading construction outfits in Europe, that's Balfour Beatty. And they had a company policy that to make themselves look good, I was an agent working for them, and we were duty bound that if we saw anything wrong on a site, any site, it didn't have to be your site, any site, you could report it. And I was living down in Exeter, Devon at that time, and the Exeter Chiefs new rugby stadium was being built, and not by me, but by Balfour Beatty, some of the subcontract work. But there was a new bridge there, and I knew that this bridge hadn't been facilitated with lightning protection, which I claimed at that time, and I still claim at this time, that it could result in serious injuries or even death if lightning struck that bridge on a Saturday or whenever. You could get 200, 300, 400 people on that bridge any given time. So I submitted a Freedom of Information request to the Devon County Council, and eventually they came back and they said, no, you can't have this, it's vexatious. So as per the law, the Freedom of Information 2000 Act, I then elevated this to the Information Commissioner. And the Information Commissioner upheld the Devon County Council decision to say it's vexatious. You can't have this. So then, as per the law, I went to the first tier tribunal, and to my great surprise, they said, it was a lovely Indian lady. They said, no, you're wrong, Devon County Council and Information Commissioner, and I'll tell you why you are wrong. Because Mr. Dransfield's request is politely written, it's benign, and you will give him the information that is required within 30 days. Anyway, they didn't release the information, but the Information Commissioner then appealed the first tier tribunal's decision to the upper tribunal, and this is where Judge Whiteley came. Sorry?
Oh yeah, you disappeared for a bit. Your audio disappeared.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, carry on, yeah.
Judge Whiteley, he overturned the first tier tribunal, and he said, no, this is vexatious. I won't go into all those details within the courts because it will take too much time. So then, as per the law, I then appealed to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal upheld the upper tribunal's decision and say you can't have this because you're vexatious. And then, incidentally, I then appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said no, this has got no chance of success. Therefore, it's vexatious. And the decision from the Supreme Court was neither signed nor sealed, which to my mind makes it null and void. But we'll just back up a little fraction to the Court of Appeal, and we had Justice Arden, Justice Moncur, and Justice, the other lady doesn't come to my mind, but what Justice Arden said, that a Freedom of Information request becomes vexatious when the request is of no value to the requester or no value to any member of the public. And she said, I'm going to apply that in this particular case. Your request, Dransfield, is no use to you, and it's no use to the general public. I thought, well, this can't be right. Firstly, judges in courts do not make new laws; they apply the laws. But the fact that she was saying that my request was of no value to me or no value to the general public, and so now this has become the court president to the court president, they call it. I call it a silver bullet and a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I think you can see Justice Arden on the screen now. Just to let you, this is the new technology we've got.
Oh, thank you, Andy. That's lovely. And this lady, about 12 months, less than 12 months after my case, she was promoted to the Supreme Court. But that's another story. So we have now a history of Dransfield court president is used and abused, I may say, by any public authority, any MPs, justice system, or what have you. They to prevent Joe Public getting any information that he needs is met with vexatious, which is absolutely and utterly bullshit. It cannot be right. But let me give you an example, and this is up your country, Andy. Going back to the Lockerbie disaster, I know that there were several people putting freedom of information requests up there, and they in turn were denied. You can't have this, in line with Dransfield, you're vexatious. So applying Lady Justice Arden's law that you can't have this because it's vexatious and it's no interest to you. Well, surely, can you imagine people that lost loved ones, lost property, etc. Of course, the freedom of information that their request to the Lockerbie was not. It could not be deemed vexatious and of no value to the requester or no value to the general public. Indeed, it was just the opposite. So what they've done over the years since 2009, they've made it absolutely nearly 100% impossible for Joe Public to get any information that he requires. And just to run a few people who are using this, the first one comes to mind, and I think it is the worst miscarriage of justice in my lifetime, and I'm an old fart, but that's beside the point. And that's the post office. Now, I know for a fact that several postmasters and postmistresses put in freedom of information requests to the post office to get information that they needed to help them, like a discovery of documents, etc. And no, the post office said, no, you can't have this, in line with Dransfield, you're vexatious. So that's just one of them. And since then, there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of situations where the Dransfield vexatious case scenario court president is preventing Joe Public getting information. And that is a direct miscarriage of justice and a breach of their own ruling, because section 77 of the Freedom of Information Act clearly says it is unlawful. It is unlawful for people to unlawfully obstruct the information that's coming out. So it really is incredible how these people are getting away with murder. We've got 56, I think it's 56 or 54 police authorities in the United Kingdom. Every man jack of them have used the Dransfield vexatious to prevent them giving information to the general public. The Ministry of Justice, of all people, they are systemic failures by them you would think the Justice Department would know how and when a freedom of information request is vexatious, but they're prolific users of the Transfield vexatious. So is the BBC. So is the Cabinet Office. So is who is the Chancellor of Lancaster and the Chancellor of Devon, which is good King Charles himself, prior to his mother, the Queen. They've used this vexatious nonsense.
Yeah.
The Grenville. So I started off on the post office. We've got Hillsborough. The Transfield has been used on there. The Grenville fire, whose report has just come out, the Transfield vexatious was used on there. And the CPS, now this is very interesting, the Crown Prosecution Service, and no other than the Prime Minister, who is running the job. He was actually in charge of the CPS at that time, 2008, 2009, a little bit later. He used the Transfield vexatious. He used it on the Jimmy Savile case, and then he turned around and said, "No, I have nothing to do with the Jimmy Savile case." While I was Crown Prosecution Service Director, Chief Executive Officer, because it didn't cross my desk. He actually used this bullshit response 2 days ago in the House of Parliament when someone asked him a similar question to the Arab guy. What was his name? Anyway, it's gone from me at this moment in time. Contaminated blood, contaminated waterways, fox hunting, Lincolnshire, not Links Police, Warwickshire Police, Lincolnshire Police. I've used the Transfield vexatious nonsense. That was a take on bullshit nonsense. Anyway, fox hunting is illegal, is unlawful. So how can anybody's freedom of information request be of no value to the requester or any member of the public? It is absolutely incredible how they can use this get out of jail free card on the Transfield case. And I'm sorry to keep boring you on this. And if anyone's listening and they want verification of this, if you go into do a Google search and on EA /2011 8079 is my first tier tribunal. From there, the GIA is the upper tribunal. GIA /3037 was the upper tribunal. And then the Court of Appeal, it was EWCA, East West CA, Charlie Alpha, -454 2015. Those are the three laws which have been used and abused by courts of appeal, judges. It's incredible, and if I'm saying that the oh, thank you, mate, lovely.
Technology.
Technology, absolutely. And if the next one you can pull up is 3037 GIA Transfield.
Yeah, just showing people this. Just a couple of comments on that. Well, not that particular one. You look a bit like a steam train. You're fast tonight. On the post office one, there was one of them. What do they know requests? I've not been able to find any more because it went so quickly. But a guy called John O'Sullivan wrote in 22.
That's right.
Freedom of information request, and he wanted to know how many post office people, put in a freedom of information request and then actually got the Transfield thrown at them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. So it is abundantly clear that the
10
Dransfield.
years, in 10 years, there was 47 vexatious Dransfield rulings between 2012 and 2022. They refused two of the ones. But yeah, I mean, 47, then you go back to Lockerbie, then you go back to, Jimmy Savile, the paedophiles, and why should they be using a personal, I've always said this, why use a personal person as a president? And while we're speaking, if the barrister guy I know, I follow him on Twitter, really. His name's Daniel. He's the black belt barrister. If you're listening, we would like some legal sort of opinion on this, because Daniel's channel, by the way, he doesn't give advice, but he gives an opinion. So it'd be good if he could thrash this out, about what's going on.
Oh yeah, I would appreciate any help like that. But what's got to be looked at, I do believe, Andy, is that we have a situation there now where we have John Edwards.
You still there, Alan?
Hello.
Yeah, carry on.
Oh, sorry.
Carry on.
You got. We've got. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
We've got a situation where we've got John Edwards. He's a New Zealander. He is the chief executive officer of the ICO. He's been there for 2 years. Prior to that, we had Elizabeth Denham. She's a Canadian, and she's been in there for 6 years. And prior to that, there was a guy called Christopher Graham, and this guy was in charge. It was his brainchild with this Dransfield vexatious nonsense. And really and truly, the people that came in after him, they are they're duty bound if they see something wrong, and if they didn't see it, they're completely blind because they should have done it. I mean, I flagged it up to all of these people, all of the new ones, and they've done nothing, absolutely nothing, and they're happy to keep what I'm saying is that every time this Dransfield vexatious nonsense is used to prevent Joe Public getting the information, it is a breach of his civil, legal, and human rights. Now that is a very serious allegation against the courts, and these people. I mean. Judge Nicholas Whiteley, I've affectionately nicknamed him Wanker Whiteley. Maybe I'm a little bit too terse on that, but I don't give a damn. The guy's a frauder. He's a cheat, and he's cheating the general public. And if we go back in history, there's a judge, not in my time, Judge Lord Downey. Lord Downey, was it Lord Downey? Yes, it was. And he claims where fraud unravels all. Lord Denning, sorry, Lord Denning. Fraud unravels all. What if you look at the Dransfield cases that are on record? Fraud is lathered all over them, and I'm sure you would agree with that, Andy, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
The Cabinet Office, for example, I mean, they are the leading ministers of the cabinet, which we've had 14 years of the Tory cabinet that have used the Dransfield regularly. And we now have the Labour Party who are also using this nonsense on Dransfield vexatious. So yeah, that's the boy. That's John Edwards. So it would be lovely on probably the next show if we could get some people coming in and ask questions or what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we need, because we need more examples of how this is affecting people, because that's the only way I think it's going to change. If we get people coming on and showing why the lack of the freedom of information is actually affecting them and their families, because that's normally when good people then wake up and say, oh yeah, oops. I think people are using all this because it's kind of easy. It's a bit like sending someone to jail for something they've not really done. It's easy. If they had to face up to the real fact, they made a big mistake, they've ruined your life probably, or at least your name, and there was a bridge. it was a problem. There was a lot of health and safety issues. Why should that ever be vexatious?
Absolutely.
Another little example of that, you started me thinking about paper clips. If somebody wanted to know how many paper clips are on the Prime Minister's desk, then you could say, that's irrelevant. Don't bother us. We're not going to reply. But using a stupid word in someone's name, I think that's just criminal.
Absolutely. But just getting back to that, the bridge, I was interviewed on the bridge by BBC West at that time, and they went to the Devon County Council for a response. They didn't come on the camera, but what they did say, and this was 2014, the BBC were quoted, "Oh, we have post the construction of this place, we have fitted it with lightning protection." Well, that to my mind confirms what I'm saying, because in 2009 I'm saying you didn't fit it, and they said, "Oh no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine," but it wasn't fine. But the incredible thing, the what I was asking for is I was asking for the as-built health and safety file. Now, for people that's not au fait with this, in construction and most projects, what you'll have is the pre-construction plan and the post-construction plan, which is called the as-built. And it was a 300-page document, and this is what I was asking for, and they didn't give me because they say I was vexatious, but they did release this information to another party who put this request in, put a similar request in, and so obviously they were treating me as vexatious, which is an infringement of the law of the FOI, because it must be the request that is deemed vexatious, not the requester. So if somebody else a few weeks later put a request in, but the incredible thing was, in this document, 337 pages, there was not a single mention of the lightning protection on that bridge. So that just goes to show that they were cheating and lying all the time.
Yeah, but there's just to interrupt. There's a little article I found on that from a website called Information Rights and Wrongs. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's a new one.
Yes, hold on, Andy.
Yeah, Information Rights and Wrongs. They're talking about that in February of 2015 is a FOI request from an investigative journalist ever vexatious. They were talking about that as well. Last week in the Court of Appeal, the indefallible, I don't know if that's the right word,
Yes,
if
it is.
rather hyperbolic, Mr. Dransfield, it says, was trying to convince three judges that his request made long ago to Devon County Council for information on lighting protection results relating to a pedestrian bridge was not vexatious if he succeeds in overturning what was a thorough and I think pretty unimpeachable ruling in the upper tribunal, then we may at last have some finality on how to interpret the section 14.1 of the FOI Act 2000. Sorry, it's not what I thought it was. I thought it was a journalist trying to get the same information, but they were labelled vexatious. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they have used the Dransfield vexatious against the press, mainstream media, but in general, the mainstream media don't want to touch this. They've run away. They've run away from it. But while it's on my mind, it wasn't just the bridge that was dangerous. It was the stadium, and I wanted them to dig deeper because the stadium hadn't been had the lightning protection fitted as it should have had. And people will say, "Well, has anyone been killed yet?" And the answer to that is not to my knowledge. So that should be okay. Well, no, it's not okay. When you build a stadium, a rugby stadium and football stadium, there is an oversight authority, stadium safety. They should know about this, and if someone's blown the whistle, they should go out there and do their investigations. Had they done so, they would have seen that neither the bridge nor the stadium had been designed and fitted with lightning protection, as it should have done. So why were they lying? It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realise how important lightning protection was until recently. This guy came over, knocked on the door. He was coming for a different reason, but he said, my other job today, as an electrician, my other job today is putting lightning protection. And I thought, what does that need lightning protection for? I don't know what the building was. It wasn't nothing major, but he said you have to do that these days. Otherwise, people could be murdered if you're not protecting. The nature will kill people, and the people who own the building will get charged. So, yeah, it's very important.
Absolutely. I can't understand why no one has pulled them up. It just goes to show the depth of the fraud and the complicity of these people that's working together to hide things. Now, incredibly, the Information Commissioner themselves, their headquarters in Cheshire, they've got a situation there where they've got methane gas leaking from their building. So I put a Freedom of Information request into them, asking for various things, the safety, the design, blah blah blah. And yeah, you guessed it. No, you can't have this in line with Dransfield. Dransfield, go away. You're not having it because of Dransfield. And I've got a Freedom of Information buddy up there. You'll know her, Sheila Oliver. At that same time, going back 10, 12 years now, there was an infant school being built close by her that she was watching as she was going to work every day, and she did find out that this particular school was built on an active landfill site. And so she put in some Freedom of Informations for this information. And sure enough, no, you can't have these because in line with Dransfield, it's vexatious. And there are literally thousands up and down the country that's not getting the the respect that it should do by the freedom of information. And our good friend Lionel, whatever his name is, Tony Blair, the oh dear,
Lion Blair.
Liar Blair. He was the one that said back in 2008, I think it was, look, you don't have to worry about the Labour Party. When we get in, any member of the public who has got a problem with freedom of information, this is the new law that's coming in. And then in his book and a couple of episodes in The Guardian and Telegraph, and he said something like, what a nincompoop, or something like that. I could think of a lot worse things to call him, but that's the terminology he used to the journalist. What a nincompoop I was to push this freedom of information forward. So, they just don't know what they're doing, do they?
No, it beggars belief what's going on. I don't know if that's Sheila Oliver's campaigning website.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah. It mentions freedom of information. Yeah, we're gonna have to get our heads together, get some other people involved, and try and work out, a peaceful resolution to all this. Because I've known you a few years, and it's still not fair, I don't understand it. And not just for yourself. I mean, it's more not fair for people like Lockerbie, And
well, absolutely. And the other ones I was talking about, Windrush. I mean, that is a topic. Jimmy Savile topic. CPS, the Cabinet Office, the contaminated blood. That's another one where the views Transfield. The contaminated water. There is not a river or a stream in the United Kingdom that meets the prerequisite standards and regulations for the safety.
What we should get, Alan, is somebody to compile a little blog or a book or I don't know, at least an A to Z of how many times, where, when, and how was vexatious used in this country. I think that'd be interesting if someone could compile a little A to Z.
Well, maybe with this A1, is it AI? We could get something there.
Artificial intelligence.
Absolutely, they've got artificial intelligence there, all right. It's just not. It's just not real. But the thing is, I tried in the past to do this, and what they respond if you say, well, how many? This is when I say they, the ICO. How many times have you done this? They say, no, we're not going to respond to this because this information is readily available on the site, and you've got to go in there and do this. But the other issue, which is absolutely incredible, I've also tried to put in a subject access request, and that's been denied, completely denied. And at this moment in time, I myself and Reuben Kirkham have a first year upper tribunal in coming weeks. Reuben is an Australian, Geordie living out in Australia, and he is fighting the fight, and he's excellent and a brilliant knowledge of the FOI. I have also, under Section 15/2, I have been banned for life from using the FOI.
Actually, be banned from life. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Transfield, you are banned.
Well, just try to get my head around that one. Have you put in at least? I don't know. I think for that, that's got to be the equivalent to stalking somebody or stalking a company.
Well, yes, it is, because what they're doing that is a complete blanket of Transfield. You're vexatious. You're always vexatious. you cannot use the subject access request, and you cannot use the FOI. For example, this forthcoming upper tribunal that myself and Ruben are going to, I've written to the upper tribunal. How do I send you a skeleton argument? How do I get the information that I need to present to you in my case when I can't get the information? I'm also on a live email ban, so I really am the big bad wolf.
So there should be some exceptions in this because, you know, I can't use stalking as an excuse, but there must be a legal way of allowing that just for a one-off, just to prove a legal point.
I need somebody like Michael Mansfield that is currently fighting the 5G debate. Also,
or even this Daniel guy. I mean, I have written to him on X and his website, but he just doesn't seem to be getting the messages, because most people, if they're not interested, they'll just email you on back. But the black belt barrister, he will give his opinion. He's given his opinion on a lot of subjects. I hope he's listening and try and throw an email, over this way.
I just thought of another example. The Gurkha soldiers. Just look at the Gurkha soldiers' history with the United Kingdom. It is absolutely second to none. They've been brilliant, haven't they? Fighting
Absolutely.
two wars and elsewhere. Well, there is a little story with the Gurkhas. Some time ago, 30 particular Gurkhas, I don't know from which regiment, they wanted to settle up and go back to their homes, final repatriation. And they had problems with their pension funds. And so they couldn't get the information they was looking for. So they put a freedom of information request into the MOD. And the MOD, what do you think they said? No, you can't have this in line with the Dransfield vexatious case. Go away. And the lovely, beautiful actress, I've forgotten her name now, she took upon the cudgels to fight this case for the Gurkhas. What was her name? My memory's terrible. It'll come to me.
You're a bit like me. We're getting old, aren't we?
We are, mate. But for sure, what I'm wanting to do before I go to meet my meter, my maker, I want to get this resolved, because there's so many people out there that's not being able to use the laws that are supposed to be there for that purpose. I mean, three of my favorite words is transparency, accountability, and security. And you always hear these knobheads using this. Well, that's fine. But transparency, accountability, and security must be seen to be working. And in the event that they're not seen to be working, in all probability, they ain't working. It's a simple equation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, it's lovely to be back and chatting with you, young Mr. Peacher, and thank you for your help on this. And I hopefully we'll get some feedback for people that's listening to this and what have you.
Yeah, there's a few things on Twitter X that might be. Oh, where am I gone? I've stopped it. That I've been looking at about for FOIs. Yeah, I think we need to show where there's interaction, because, hang on, let me find it if I can find it. Because we do have a call-in number, just to let people know. Hang on, FTJ Media, ftjmedia.com. If you go onto the home tab and you look at call in, there's a free phone number anywhere in the world. So, for instance, in the UK, we've got a free phone number and it's somewhere down here. It's 330, no, sorry, it's 0800, that's the wrong one, 640 3111, 0800 640 3111. You need a 10-digit code, which I will sort of read out, should people want to join in.
All right, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then that's an what's the word? An outline of what the story's all about. But we do need other people to tell us their story and ask you yourself questions.
Yes, I'll take any questions, mate. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, if we can say good night to that then, and hope that little jingle worked. But I forgot to add the drum to it.
Well, we'll save the drum roll when we blow these people out of the water, because they cannot be allowed to keep using this nonsense. It really is absolute and utter nonsense.
Yeah, I've just put the it looks bigger when people are watching it, these numbers. So that's all the. Well, I can't do that now. I've missed it now. I've messed it up, I think. Yeah.
All right, mate. So if you want to run something again next week or what have you, but I'm afraid people get bored with this because it's repetition, isn't it? And repeating myself. And are you there, Andy?
Yeah, sorry about that, Alan. If you're there, I pressed the wrong button. Are you there, Alan? No, anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. I had a bit of a technical problem, but thanks for listening. And if you want us, it's Freedom Talk